here, but not that. That's what I'm gonna do.
Remember, don't get too close to that thing, or it's gonna squeal. Okay, you're missing one. Packet. Okay, say something. Something.
Testing. Testing.
Very good. Expecting something.
So we just stay right here. The screen. No. I won't be able to read it then, so.
Test, test. Test, test. Mary had a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. What goes after that? This was worse. Hello? Sounds good.
Okay, kid one.
Oh.
You look at your lab.
Hello?
Kid two.
Hello?
You don't need to hold it out.
Okay, kid two, once again.
It's on. It's not green.
Readjusted stuff. It's turned on.
There.
It's not great.
Oh.
Now it's on. You don't have to hold it. Go ahead and say something.
Testing.
Okay.
That was hilarious.
It's because my mic was too close to the box.
Yeah. There's a button right there. There's a button on it.
Yeah, don't push that. Keep your hand on your body.
I am a robot.
Hey, one more talk of something.
Hello? Hello?
Where did you slide down?
I'll stand over
Hello?
here.
Hello?
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 Okay.
Try to come a little closer and just start buzzing and get away. There you go. That's good.
Hello? Yep.
Are we just waiting for you guys, or are we waiting for more people?
No, we're ready whenever. Okay. Hello and welcome to our talk on kinetic security. I'll kind of explain what that means in a minute, but before we start, I'll give you a definition of kinetic security, or kinetic energy actually, which is what inspired the title of this talk. Kinetic energy is the energy of an object it possesses due to its motion. And if you read through this, you'll see that if it takes the same amount of energy to speed up as it does to decelerate. And so when you think about people in security that are my age and potentially your age, it's taken us a lot of energy to get to where we're at. And it's hard to change our ways. Whereas when we talk about younger generations and people who haven't gotten that far into it yet, they have more potential energy to reach before they get to their kinetic energy. And so, before I introduce myself, I just want to lay potentially two ground rules. I do have two very special guests with me today. I'm going to interview them. They are young, as you can see, and so I'd ask that you be a little respectful of their ages, because most likely they have more potential energy to own you for the rest of your life. So just keep that in mind if you decide you're going to harass them. And please hold all questions till the end. I am a highly trained professional in interviewing these two guys, so I don't want to fracture their fragile being, but we will get to questions at the end. So who am I? I'm Ghost Nomad. As you can see from my tag cloud, I'm a geek, husband, father. I do like haiku. I blogged about haiku. I wrote a book about haiku, and I haven't been as good about haiku lately, but I'm an InfoSec, blogger, gamer. Once upon a time I was an auditor. Please don't hold that against me. It's been a couple years now. So that is who I am.
I am Ghostnomadjr. I am a martial artist, a black belt in Taekwondo, which is the martial art I do. I'm a kid, a gamer, a game creator, a game hacker, musician, many other things.
Okay.
I'm Knuckles. I'm 8 years old and I'm in 2nd grade. I'm clumsy, crazy.
Go ahead.
Clumsy, crazy, but creative. I like to play my DS a lot. My favorite game is Pokemon Black. I want to be a cook like my dad.
I guess I am an amateur cook. If you come tomorrow to my talk, you'll actually learn how to make something. So first we're going to talk about technology in school. And so what kind of technology do you use in school?
We use smart boards and desktop.
Smart boards and desktop. Do you do anything else?
Sometimes we use the iPads.
iPads. And do you guys ever have problems with the technology you use in your classroom?
Yes.
Yes? What happens?
Sometimes it'll get like an error on it, or it'll be locked.
Yeah, and who fixes that?
Either me or
The tech person?
Yes, the
Yeah.
tech person.
Yeah, we almost had a security breach because I think he almost said somebody's name. And so, how do you use the technology?
We use it to correct stuff like simple solutions, or on the computers, we use those to do our accelerated readers.
Accelerated reader. So you use it, your simple solutions are your math and your science, right?
Mm-hmm.
An accelerated reader, are you read a book
Desktop.
and then you take a test on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you guys use quite a bit of technology in school. And so we'll get to it, but there's potential for security, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you use technology in school?
Well, we use just about the same things as he does.
Mm-hmm.
We use smart boards, iPads, laptops, desktop computers, and that's what we mainly use.
And how do you use technology?
Well, we normally use it for reviewing stuff, like
Reviewing
over
stuff.
our math and stuff, or searching things for projects and all that.
Okay. And do you guys ever have problems with your technology in class?
Yes, lots of times.
Lots of times. And who fixes it in your class?
Mainly me, actually.
You? So
My
do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, well, there always is problems with the computers, iPads, smart boards, etc. And my teacher used to always go and get the tech lady,
Mm-hmm.
and they would always have to fix it. Well, eventually she just got bored of that, and she made me the new tech support kind of guy in the class. So whenever there's an error on the computer or iPads, I have to fix it.
So in 5th grade, there's an opportunity to be the help desk guy, right?
Yeah.
Because we've all been the help desk guy for our families, and so now our family is actually the help desk guy or girl at school. Did you get any bonuses for being the help desk?
Yeah, I get lots of homework passes.
See, so there's a bonus to knowing what you're doing in class. And so when we present technology in the classroom, a lot of times it's not really geared for a secure environment, is it? So we're going to talk about hacking in the classroom. May not mean exactly what you think, but what happens? Have you ever had an issue where you need to get into a computer?
Yes.
And can you tell us about that?
Well, sometimes we have to use like look up stuff on Google if we don't know those things, or
And what do you ever get errors that say you're not allowed to use the computer? And did you figure out how to use the computer?
Yes.
What'd you do?
I hacked it and I found a special code to get on it.
What was the? So, what was the code when you tried it?
Student.
Student. So the password on the school, was it just one computer?
I'm not really sure about that because I just hacked one.
You just tried it on one?
Yeah.
So in second grade, just trying a simple password of student, and you were able to get into the computer. Now, that was just to use the internet and stuff like that when there was an error, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and didn't you also have an issue where, well, that'd be you.
Yes, it would.
So, can you tell us about what happened in your classroom?
Yes, well, when I was in around first, second grade, I was doing accelerated readers, and my teacher had to run down to the office. So she gave me the password to use the accelerated reader code and all that. And so she writes it down, gives it to me, and then she leaves.
So your teacher shared her password with you?
Yes, the password that gets her into most of the websites she even uses, just because she was running down to the office.
So it was a password that was used for multiple things,
Yes.
right? And so have you ever talked to your teachers or your fellow classmates about sharing passwords?
Yes.
Yes, what have you told them?
Well, once my friend, he wanted me to play his account on a game. So he was about to give me his password, but I said no.
Right. And what could happen to his account if he gave you his password?
It could get deleted.
Deleted or
Change the password.
change the password, which means he couldn't get access to it, or you could take control of his information, right?
Yep.
So it's coming into school and you're sharing passwords, and your friend wanted to share his password.
Yep.
Has there ever been anything like that with you?
Lots of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't there something where the teacher was reading out a list of names?
Yes, it was just the beginning of school year, and we're getting our passwords to log into our own personal computer settings and all that. And instead of keeping the password secret, because they were only 4-digit, she just gave them out. So she said, whoever you are over there, your password is 5565 or something like that.
Right.
So everyone could hear your password.
Right. So in reality, when we think of security as security professionals, or if you're working in a business where they tell you that you should never share your password, the thing is that, in a school environment, you don't think of that as needing security, that you can share the information, but you're ultimately creating a behavior, a pattern that says it's okay to share the password, it's okay to use easy passwords, right? And so it's an opportunity for you guys to help educate your friends and teachers.
Yes.
And do you do that too?
I do it all the time.
You do it all the time. But you have to be respectful, don't you?
Yes.
Because you don't want to tell your teacher, oh man, you're doing something really wrong, because then you'll get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So you have to take a good approach.
Yeah.
And I think as security professionals, we even have to do that. You can't just call up somebody and say, hey, bozo, you can't do this with your password. You have to take a diplomatic approach, because professionals can get in trouble just as easily as kids in school, right?
Right.
And there's another side to hacking the classroom. So you've got all this technology that you're using, right? And there's different ways that you use it, and people are handing out passwords and stuff like that. But on the other side of it, so much of the information that kids learn today in school oftentimes comes from websites that teachers find resources for, because in reality, education is a great opportunity for an open source community where you have a great lesson plan and you want to share it. And so didn't we have something that happened with you?
Yes, we did.
And so kind of the background to the story, I guess, is Mommy, my wife, and your mom was out of town, and I was at home with these two guys and my two other kids, and it was like Thursday, coming near the end of the week, and I pretty much was done, wasn't I?
Not in the mood for helping.
Doing
anyone
homework,
for
yeah. I'm not the best at homework anyways, That's usually my wife's department. But what was the assignment?
It was to answer puns about the periodic table of elements.
Right. And so you brought this home, and there was like 25, 30 of these puns. Were they easy?
No.
No. And so
The only ones I got were at school. So
right.
I got those answers.
Right. So what did we do?
Well, he looked up the websites on my computer, and he found this one, and it had the answer sheet, and I'm just about to copy them down, and he turns the computer away from me.
Right. So the worksheet with the answers was on a website, and who else also used the website? Remember what you said to me when I pulled the website up?
Oh, yeah. I saw that website on her laptop.
On your teacher's laptop.
Yeah.
So it was the website that the teacher uses, right? And right there in open was the
Answers.
answers.
Everything.
Well, the worksheet with the answers. And so I turned away the screen, and I made you work for it, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
And what did I tell you, the reason why I made you work for it?
Because if my teacher asked me how I got all these answers, I would have no idea how I got them.
And so she would know that you cheated
Yeah.
by going on the internet. And so
Yep.
what happened?
Well, I get to school after him making me work so hard for these, and my teacher asked me, "How'd you get these answers?" And I gave her all these great, all these just great opinions how I got these and stuff, and she gave me extra credit for knowing all this stuff.
Because you were the only one in the class who got them all right.
Yep.
And of course, we know if the one person in the class gets it all right, you had to find the answers, right? But because you were able to answer what the puns meant and how they related to the elements, you got it right.
Yep.
And wasn't there a bonus question?
Yeah, there was a bonus question, make your own puns.
Right.
And we looked at the second sheet, the answer sheet,
So there was a second worksheet that was on the same website.
and there was this one, who were the guests at the first Thanksgiving? The Indian.
Right.
And so I wrote that down, and I got extra credit again.
Right.
And she probably had figured that out when she gave us the second worksheet.
Right. So not only when you talk about hacking the classroom in that the security aspect, but at the same time, because the information is so readily available on the internet, and kids today are getting smarter and smarter, it's more likely they're going to find those answers. I mean, I remember back in college, everybody talked about this professor's, all of his exams were in the basement of such and such dorm building, and everybody wanted to go down and find it. And so, but now, all that stuff's on the internet. And so most likely, if you just want the answers, you can just go out and find it. So it's kind of an interesting perspective because you want the teachers to share the best learning techniques, but at the same time, the kids, if it's not protected, if it's not put someplace that they can't find it, they're going to find it. And hopefully, like we did, use it the right way, but you could have just written down the answers, right? Yeah. Okay, so securing your friends. We kind of touched on this when we talked about hacking the classroom and technology, but so you had friends that want to give you your password, right? And what do you tell them?
I tell them no.
You tell them no, right? Go ahead.
And I tell them the reason why.
You tell them the reason why, because stuff can happen. Now, don't you also go to your friend's house? Do they try to go to websites?
Yes.
And so, talk about that.
My friend, he...
Yeah.
But
Are you trying to break his privacy?
he was playing a game on the computer, and he played it about 10 times in a row, and I warned him not to play it.
And what was it?
It was,
Was it?
Was it one of those scams?
Yeah.
Catch the apple?
It's like
Yeah,
Punch
Catch
the
the
Monkey or
Apple.
Catch the Apple, one of the ads.
he played it 10 times in a row, and he got an error on his computer.
Yeah, and so you tried to help him understand why that was a bad thing, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. And have you ever had that?
Plenty of times.
Plenty of times? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, one of my really good friends who was over, he was on this one website, which he plays all the time. He sees a little ad called Catch the Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And so he catches it 3 times, and it brings him to this wheel.
Right.
And he spun it twice, he missed it, and then on the last one he spun it 3rd time, got it. And he's like, Isaac, should I sign up for this or whatever? And I'm like, no, those are the bad scams or whatever. And he's like, how do you know? And I'm like, well, it's kind of funny how you've played that twice and you got it on the third time. And so I kind of told them the websites that, shouldn't be on and showed them how to find those websites.
So if it's too good to be true, it's probably a scam, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so one of the things that people sometimes ask me as a parent is, how do you lock down your computers at home so your kids don't get on stuff they shouldn't? And the interesting thing is that I don't know if I should be ashamed or if my explanation will cover it, but I don't. I don't have the software on their computers to stop them from going to sites. I talk to you guys, don't I?
Yep.
And I tell you the things that can happen, and I tell you why they're bad. And do I show you guys tools to use
Yes.
to check the things?
Yes.
And so what do you do if you're going to look up something? What do you do?
We first ask you.
Right. So most people are concerned. They put the firewall on or the child locks, and they say, okay, this is going to stop you. But I've taken the approach, hopefully it works, that you come to me first, right?
Yes.
And then what do you do?
And then,
Do you just click on any link you find?
no.
No? Do you try to check it, don't you?
Yes.
Right. So those are some of the skills I've tried to help you learn. And do you use anything?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I use site advisors, anything that can help me that I've seen you use, of course,
Right.
to find out if a website or a game is safe or not, or if it has malware. Or all
Right. So it's even things that I may have not even told you guys. It's stuff that you've picked up. And the point is that as kids, you're going to go to your friend's house, and they're not always going to have the level of controls that someone, who's in security may try to put on their own computer. And so I try to teach you guys the skills to teach your friends, but also so knowing that when you go somewhere else that doesn't have the same level of controls, you guys try to be smart with it, right?
Right.
Right.
And so those are the things you try to teach your friends, right?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Right. And actually, probably a funny story was your friend had played a game online, both of you guys,
Yes.
and you came home and you wanted to play it, and you asked me, can I play it? So I did a little search, and I said, oh, you know what? You guys can't play it. It's associated with a site that distributes malware. And a couple days later, your friend's dad called me, didn't he?
Yeah.
And said, we have a virus on our machine, can you come help us? And so it ended up being related to the site that your friend had gotten the game from. So that was a good real life example of, okay, Dad told me I can't play it, but this is why, and how it stopped it. So it's really important to share with your friends what you learn, right?
Right.
Because not everybody's dad is in security. All right, so the next topic is pick it or kick it. Pick it does not mean your nose. So last year we came to NOTACON, Ghostnomadjr and I, and we gave a talk called One Bag Cookie. What do we spend most of our time at NOTACON doing?
We spend it mostly at the Lockpick Village.
Right. Had you ever picked a lock before?
Nope.
No. But you wanted to go try, didn't you?
Yeah.
And so what did you learn there?
How to pick locks, of course. And then they also taught us a few rules.
A few rules
about picking locks.
Right. That you should.
One is that you don't pick a lock that you won't be able to repair or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't pick it if it's not yours, and if it's not yours and you're going to pick it, make sure to get permission to pick it.
Right. So they didn't just say, here's a lockpick set, go pick it. They gave you the instructions of how to be responsible.
Right.
Right. And so we came home with some lockpicks, didn't we?
Yes.
And I went out and got some padlocks for us to play with. Did you try it?
Yes.
And who was at our house when you tried it?
Our grandpa and grandma.
Your grandfather and yeah, right. Grandma and Papa. And what did your grandfather think when you were picking the lock?
He thought I was a thief.
He thought you were a thief?
And you.
Did you pick the lock?
Yes.
So it's interesting, the perception. You hand your, at the time, 7-year-old son and 9-year-old son a lockpick set, and they're picking these master locks that not only you put on your luggage, but even some of the bigger ones. And it's like, oh, why are you teaching your kid how to pick a lock? But I think everybody here probably knows, especially if you've done a lockpick village, that it gives you an understanding of physical security, doesn't it?
Confidence.
Confidence. Well, and the fact that, right, if you put a lock on a door, that doesn't mean your house is secure, does it?
No.
So there's things that you should do other than just relying on a lock.
Because it reminds you that if you can pick a lock, then someone else probably can also.
Right. And so if you're putting a lock on your luggage, you have to assume that somebody could pick that, right?
Right.
And so you don't want to put all your valuables in one place. Same thing, you don't want to put all your valuables in the front window of your house because you know that the lock is easy to pick.
Obviously.
Right. So it taught you about physical security, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's the picket side of things. But then you talked about you're in Taekwondo, right?
Yes, I did.
And so what has that taught you?
It's taught me mainly how to use physical skill to defend yourself, others, for, the right of good.
Right. And so they teach you actually how to do things that could really hurt people, don't they?
Yes.
Do they just teach it to you and say, okay, go out?
No, they teach you that you have to be a peacemaker and use it only for self-defense or helping others.
Right, so they teach you how to be responsible with it.
Yes.
Much the same manner that the Lockpick Village teaches us to be, not just how to pick a lock, but that you have some responsibility with it.
Right.
And so, and what's something else that you've learned from Taekwondo?
I've learned how to break boards.
Break boards? Just boards?
Yes. Concrete boards also.
A concrete block?
Yep.
Yeah, so to be a black belt, you had to break a concrete block.
Yes, I did.
And did that build some confidence in you?
It built a lot, definitely.
Yeah. Did it make you feel like you could defend yourself against someone bigger than you?
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's interesting because teaching, learning that how to protect yourself is kind of similar in what information security people deal with. I mean, we deal with some pretty large, coordinated sometimes more well-funded organizations that are trying to break into our stuff. And doing things can help us build our confidence to protect against it, much like learning, that you can break a board or a concrete block with your hand has taught you, right?
Right.
So it's important, those lessons kind of cross over between protecting ourselves, protecting the ones we love, and protecting those things that we're given to protect. And we're not picking our nose, right?
No.
Shh, privacy. All right, so oftentimes you go online and sign up for different online games and stuff, right?
Yes.
Does it ask you for information?
Yes.
What kind of information?
My name, my birthday, my last name.
Mm-hmm. And do you put that in?
No.
No? What do you put in?
A fake name and a...
Fake name?
Yeah.
Do you use your real birthday?
No.
No? You come up with something?
Yeah.
How do you pick your username then? Your name that you're going to use?
Well, sometimes I just look around places and I just make up my own name.
Right. Yeah, did that happen recently?
Yes. I was signing up for a game and I had to make a fake name and I couldn't think of one. So I asked my dad what I could do, and he looked at a lawn care service thing and it said something like Greenwood.
Greenwood?
Yeah, Greenwood.
Yeah, so you came up with your name based on a pamphlet to put into that. Did that happen to you too?
Yes, it did. I was signing up for the same exact game. And I come into the kitchen for pancakes and we have syrup. And then I ask you, well, I can't think of a fake name to put on this game. What do you think I should do? So you look around for a bit and then you pick up the syrup bottle and he's like, why don't you try Rod Northwood?
Right, because that was what was on the syrup bottle.
Yep.
Yeah, so why don't you give your information out like that?
Because it can be put on the network and then other people can find out your identity.
Right, so people could use that information to steal your identity?
Yes.
What else could they do if they find out that you're a kid?
They could
come find you?
They could come find me.
Yeah. So if you give out your address, what school you go to, by giving them a birth date, they know how old you are. And if it's somebody looking to harm a kid, they could come harm you, couldn't they?
Yes.
So that's why it's important to keep that information secret, isn't it?
Yes.
And so recently, something actually happened in our family with privacy and stolen identity, didn't it?
Yes.
Who did it happen to? Was it you?
No.
Was it him?
No.
Was it your mom?
No, it was you.
It was me. So I'm the security guy, right?
Right.
And we thought my ID was stolen. Now what happened? Do you guys remember?
Yes. There was another person named Jeff Kirsch, and the computer went to the closest one, and that was...
But how did we find out? What happened? Do you remember?
because you got a note that a bill from the hospital.
Right, so I got a bill from the hospital with my name and address on it from a hospital in Pittsburgh. And I don't live or even go near Pittsburgh unless I'm traveling, right? Let alone that I would have to be in a hospital in Pittsburgh. And so it said that I had $160 worth of service performed at this doctor in Pittsburgh. So what did I do? Did I freak out? Or
sort of.
Kind of?
And then, well, you were planning on calling the hospital, but it was Saturday. So
It was Saturday, right?
it's kind of useless calling.
Right.
And so, then you call the bank.
I called my banks, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because at that point, we didn't know how much of my information the person had. We knew name and address, right?
Yeah, right.
So I called my banks, and I added the extra security that I would have needed to, or tried to check to see if anybody had tried to get my accounts. Now, then on that Monday, I called the hospital, didn't I?
Yeah, right away.
Right away. And what was I looking for when I called them? What type of information I had?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I had asked them, I said, what's the social security number you have for this bill? And they didn't have one. And then they said, well, what's your date of birth? And I said, this is my date of birth. And they said, oh, it's the wrong date of birth. This is not you. We'll take it off. What our system did was it picked the first address, like Knuckles said. It picked the first address associated with that name and put it on the bill. That's kind of crazy in and of itself, but the fact that I got a bill simply on a name and an address kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what information we had. So that kind of showed us in real life what could happen if somebody had just even our name and address, right?
Yeah.
And if they had my date of birth, it could have probably been a lot worse. And if they had my social security number, it could have been even worse, right?
Yeah.
So
I have a question. Are you taking questions at all?
We-
Is this related to this, or wait till the end?
we will be at the end, sure. So it was kind of a crazy time.
Yeah, it was.
But it was a good life lesson. And that's the times where sometimes we might want to shut down and not tell our kids what's happening. And really, that's an important thing that we should let them know, because they're going to be faced with people asking them for their name, their phone number, their address, their date of birth, for a long time. And in actuality, if somebody was going to steal an identity, and I think studies have shown that kids' identities are stolen pretty frequently because they're not going to do a credit check until they get old enough to even try to apply for credit. So if somebody sold your identity now, or your identity, they could run your credit line up and give you bad credit and have people coming after you for before you would even know it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's even more important that we share that with our kids and help them educate. And so then again, they can go and educate their friends, because it's much more critical. All right, so you both have said that you are kind of the helper in class when the technology doesn't work.
Yep.
Do you get phone calls
All the time.
all the time? Your friends call you?
All the time, yeah.
So you've kind of become the help desk guy?
Yeah.
I think we can all relate to how that feels. Everybody's calling you saying, can you come fix my computer? I think I got a virus. And now your friend's doing that, right?
Right.
And you're in 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And wasn't there something recently where you got something and you kind of figured it out?
Yeah, well, I just ordered a brand new game that was and I was really ready to play it because it had been a few weeks since I ordered it. And I put it in, load it up, and then I get to play it, and it says, error, cannot play the game. And so I tried again, and it doesn't work. So then I asked him, do you think you could fix it? And he's like, not right now, I had to cook dinner or something like that.
Right.
So I didn't really feel like waiting any longer because it had been a few days.
Mm-hmm.
So I look up online a few things, find a couple websites that help me, and then I go into my settings on my computer, and I see that the mic is on, apparently. So I disenable that, and then all of a sudden my game starts working.
Right, so you had read on a forum where it talked about disabling or turning off certain sound settings because your operating system wasn't designed for the game.
Right.
Right, and so if you're a parent, or even if you're a mentor to a kid or have cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever, you're always the help desk person if you know technology. And so it's funny because it's always, Daddy, can you help me? Daddy, can you help me? And then my two little ones, Daddy, Daddy. Everybody's Daddy or Mommy. And it came to a point where I was just like, you gotta wait, right? And you went out and did it. And so, again, that goes back to using the internet as a resource for learning, that you took the initiative to go out and learn it on your own. And that's where we talk about potential energy and kinetic energy, potential security and kinetic security. We're so far ahead of ourselves that to slow ourselves down and to learn something new, it would take the same amount of force that we got there. But our kids are learning at a much faster rate because they still have that potential security. So it's not always a bad thing, as we found, to make yourself go out and figure out how to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so.
There's also another funny story.
Yeah.
I was playing a game, and there was a glitch on the computer which made my character very slow.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Isaac if he can help me, and he is Googling what to see if he can find out what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just logs on my character one more time, and all of a sudden he's back to normal.
Right. So not only are you
Help desk to my friends.
help us to your friends, but
my
also to your
now.
brother. And when your other brother and sister want to play, it's always Isaac and Knuckles. Can you help them? Right? I have you guys go help them now instead of just me or your mom. Yeah. So that inauguration into a help desk is getting younger and younger, because as your friends find out that you know technology, they're going to be coming to you. So again, if we can share that information with our kids and not just hand it to them, it's great. Now we came to NOTACON again last year. We got the speaker badges because we were speakers, and
Right.
you got that kind of fascinated you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And so what did we do?
Well, we bought the kits for it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went home, and every night from then we started soldering
Right,
these badges.
right. And what else did we put together?
We put together a TV beacon.
Yeah. And isn't there a funny story with that TV begun?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, when you guys made it,
Mm-hmm.
Isaac tried turning off the Wii on Aaron because he's always stuck up on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not working, and I'm looking back, and I'm trying to tell Isaac something. He's like, "What?" And the TV that we lost the remote to in our other room was turning on and off.
Right, so we had an old TV sitting in the other room, and they're trying to turn off the TV with the Wii, but the other TV is going on and off. And you took it to your grandparents' house too, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what happened there?
Well, I was doing it, and then our grandpa was like, "What's happening to this?" And then, well, we ended up telling him what had happened, and he's like, "Oh." And then all of a sudden, the sound started mixing up. So if you have it on like full blast, 120, it's quite as it could be, pretty much without muting it.
Right, so the TV began not only shut off his TV, it turned off his sound system.
And messed it all up.
And then he called us because you guys had messed it up. So what was funny is that, it wasn't just looking at some components and thinking I couldn't do it. You really wanted to try, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you've actually gone from not wanting to hold the solder to actually doing some soldering, haven't you? And did it make you want to try it?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not only inspiring to us to come to these conferences, but also for those younger generations. And again, you don't have to be a parent. You can be a mentor to a younger child or to a niece or nephew. So it's always good to reach out and not just try to say, well, that's a kid. There's not really anything I can do right now, because they're ready and willing to learn. Their learning rate is so much faster than ours, and so it's really good. And when you think about your organization, if you're an information security person, you're fighting tooth and nail to try to help people understand security. So why don't we give that to them at a young enough age that it's just going to be part of their life. It's the same thing when you talk about teaching a kid a foreign language. They pick it up so much quicker at the younger ages, kindergarten, preschool, first grade, second grade, than you do if you're an adult. And so if we can do the same thing and pass on what we know and inspire them to want to do these things, they don't have to go on and want to do it for themselves, but at least they know when they go into the workforce that you don't share your password. It's just a natural thing instead of trying to tack that on at the end. So, and that leads us into the potential security. Again, the younger generations, when we were young, computers were rather large. I think at the time when the first Nintendo handheld came out, it had 10 times the power of computing that sent the first mission to the moon. And that was great, and it was a black and white screen. And now the handheld games that our kids have, and we probably have too, are so much even better than that. And so all the technology that we're handed today, it's taken us time to pick it up, and sometimes we're resistant to learning things new, where it's just second nature to you guys. Somebody hands you a tablet in school, and you know what to do with it, right? I mean, you just tap away and you're going. Somebody turns a computer on for you, and you just go ahead and do whatever you're going to do because you're used to it, right?
Right.
You're growing up with it. So, we have a great potential for building that security early on, as opposed to waiting until we get to the very end, where then these guys are growing up to be security professionals, and they're doing the exact same thing we are, which is teaching people why you don't share your passwords, teaching why you have to have a stronger password, teaching why you don't go to, click on a link that's in an email, that type of stuff. So it's really important that, we haven't reached our potential, our maximum maybe, but it gets harder and harder to go faster and faster to keep up. And it would take the same amount for us to slow down to learn that new thing. So let's try to help those who are coming up, whether they're 5, whether they're 8, whether they're 10, whether they're 25, whatever age you can try to help build that potential security so that when they reach their kinetic security, they're so far ahead of us, we don't even have to worry about it anymore. All right, so when we were practicing for this last night, we were trying to lighten it up, weren't we?
Yeah, not go through the whole thing.
Right, because you've actually done a talk last year.
Yeah.
But this was your first talk, wasn't it?
Right.
And so we tried to lighten the mood, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay, so we just wanted to kind of give you a preview of what our outtakes were. So I'm going to go back here if you bear with me. All right, so we're going to do a couple seconds here. We won't try to bore you, but this is what we did to lighten it up and practice for your second talk, your first talk. Kinetic security. Kinetic energy. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah. Tech in school. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah,
Blah.
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 Blah,
Blah, blah.
blah,
Blah.
blah,
Blah.
blah,
Blah, blah, blah.
blah, 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 blah,
Blah, blah, blah, blah.
blah.
Blah. Blah. Blah. Hacking in the classroom. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Blah,
Blah, blah, blah,
blah,
blah.
blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah.
Blah. So you kind of get the idea. That's how we tried to lighten it up and, tried to make it fun because really security doesn't always have to be so serious and stuff. You can actually have a lot of fun with it and still learn a lot.
Blah, blah, blah,
And so,
blah, blah.
at this point, we'd like to open it up for questions.
Blah.
Just to let you know, if you want to get a hold of any of us, you can find me on Twitter at ghostnomad, and I can pass along any questions and relay it back. You can email me at ghostnomad@ghostnomad.com, or these guys both have done some blogging, storytelling. You've written some haiku, you've written some haiku. So if you want to find their work, it's at theoddbob.com. So go ahead, we'd like to go ahead now and open up. Sure.
When you were talking about using not your real name, account creation issues.
Sure.
One thing, my son is 12, and he wanted to set up Gmail,
Yes.
and it says you got to be 13.
Right.
And he's like, well, all
Right.
the idea of when is it a lie and when is it just protecting yourself?
Sure.
Have you hit that with these guys? Or?
You know, that's a great point, and that's, I do try to, when I tell these guys, you know, to give out information that, you know, there's going to come a point where you do have to give out your real information if you're setting up your bank account, whatever. There are times that you're going to have to use your real name, you're going to have to use your real date of birth, and it's that fine line, like you said, of what's a lie and what's protecting yourself. And I think what we've come to is that if somebody could use it to harm you because you don't know it's a trusted source, then it's protecting yourself. And so that's really the approach I've taken. I don't know if that's the best approach, but that's what I've tried to do. And again, you know, we don't go around introducing ourselves as John Smith, you know. But at the same time, we tell our kids not to talk to strangers until they know who they are. So it's pretty similar. So it's a great question and a great paradox of what's a lie and what's really protecting yourself.
Have you let these guys turn loose on Facebook? Or?
No, I have not. No, and did you say why?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, you know, I've talked to them about it. I really don't use Facebook that much anyways. I think that there's a lot of, you know, potential, not just Facebook, but other things, Twitter, that they could use to help themselves in life. It's probably not the best place right now for them. I guess teaching them those fundamentals as to what's appropriate and what's not. Eventually they are going to do it. And like I said before, they're going to their friend's house, so have they set up that account? You know, I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they made the right decision. At the same time, when it comes to it, will I require them to friend me or what have you? Probably. I mean, there's going to be that level of parental control that I'll take because that's my job, you know, just like as a parent. But it's an interesting.
A follow-up to that is just the idea that would you ask them for their credentials, like my son's on Google Talk,
Right.
And like I didn't show that while I scanned there, but I didn't get his password.
Right.
Because, you know, again, it's that fine line of like,
Right.
are you going to be controlling or are you going to trust and instill in them
Right.
what you're doing?
Right. And so that's, again, another great question. And that goes, it's funny because that's that paradox again. We teach our kids not to share their passwords, as we talked about earlier. Now, I know my kids' passwords for their accounts for things that they do right now. One, because they tend to forget them sometimes, right? More so the younger ones than the older ones. But two, you know, we have to teach our kids that there are trusted parties and there are information that you're going to have to share with people. And if I allow them eventually to be on some of the social media or use chatting or things like that, if it's not give me your credentials, it's, you know, you have to show me what you're doing. But also, I think one approach we've also taken, going back to what we do with our computers, we have pretty strict rules as to where we can use our computer and that it's in an open place. So even though my son has a laptop or he may use our tablets, we don't allow him to take it up to his room and shut the door and just, you know, stay in there all the time. They have to be in a place where if we walk in, we're going to see what they're doing, right? And that's just something we've instilled in them. So I don't know if that answers the question. It's a tough call, and I think each person's going to handle it differently. Any other questions?
Anyone else? Anyone else?
All right. Well, if you do have questions or want to give us feedback or whatever, we'll be around. Or you can always, again, contact us. And I do thank you for coming and, again, instill that in younger generations.
Thank you. Thank you. I got it.